I know the term hidden gems is way overused at this point, but I don't care because there are 5 RPGs that I really want to talk about here in this video that I felt either got quickly shoved to the side shortly after their release or overlooked completely. All of these games are available on the Nintendo Switch, which is where I played them, but you can find most of them on other platforms as well. Alright, let's jump in at number 1. We begin this list with what's probably the most hidden of all these gems. Meridian Tavern story, Patty and the Hungry God. This game was published by Kemco, who are known for their low-budget RPGs, and yeah, that's what Meridian is. But what's special about Meridian is that it's an homage, or straight-up rip, of the old Atelier titles. You play as Patty, the daughter of a tavern owner who has recently fell on hard times and has had to turn his business over to the local bank. This all happens because Patty's brother Gino knocked over the statue of the god of poverty, causing the god, this plump fella here named Coco, to possess the young boy. In order to keep the bad fortune from snowballing, Patty must keep Coco fed while simultaneously building up a new tavern in order to pay off her father's debt. To do this, you'll have to forage for ingredients and discover new recipes in order to build out your tavern menu. You must open up for business each day, and your menu items will have to match the current seasonal trends and not overstay their welcome to please customers and earn enough money to continue on. The amount of ingredients and recipes included in this game is dizzying. It really runs the gamut of cuisine, from traditional Americana foods like cheeseburgers to fancy seafood dishes. Pretty much anything you can think of is in this game. You gather ingredients in a few different ways, but the main method is through exploring the world map. You select an area that consists of smaller areas separated by loading screens, and you wander the map going from collection point to collection point, gathering base ingredients, and along the way, you'll be hit with random encounters, initiating turn-based RPG battles. Defeat these foes to find more unique ingredients. Your party members level up not by winning battles, but instead by being fed the dishes that you make. Each character has a certain amount of food they can eat each day, and different dishes will offer varying amounts of XP. The story isn't going to change your life, nor is the translation very good. And yes, there's that kemco jank sprinkled throughout, especially when it comes to some of the menus, but I feel like this team really overachieved with this game. The art style is wonderful, the character designs are better than I expected, and the menu designs give off a warm and cozy vibe. If you're interested in getting into the Atelier series, but want something that's maybe lower risk, then I would definitely check this one out. Meridian Tavern Story currently retails for $20, but it's often on sale for about half of that. Ducking into the dungeon crawling genre for gem number 2, we have the Mary Skelter series. The reason I'm saying series is because Mary Skelter 2 actually comes with the first game, but makes you play the second game first to unlock the first game. And then there's Mary Skelter Finale, which I haven't played yet, but I'd imagine it's more of the same. There are no shortage of dungeon crawlers on the market. It seems to be a go-to genre for developers maybe on a smaller budget, and the genre is about as old as video games in general. What makes Mary Skelter special is its unique presentation of fairy tale princesses mixed with dark horror. This series is developed by Compile Heart, who is known for their work on the Neptunia series, and published by Idea Factory. In Mary Skelter 2, which is where you'll probably want to start if you want to jump into the series, you play as a party of hunters called the Blood Maidens. As they search through a living hellscape labyrinth called Jail that used to be real-world Japan, looking for other Blood Maidens. There are treacherous foes known as the Marchen laden throughout Jail, looking for humans to torture, making for interesting encounters for the Blood Maidens. When the Blood Maidens return to their HQ to find it destroyed, you're tasked with going deeper into the labyrinth known as Jail to find your fellow Blood Maidens and avoid the nightmare creatures that have wandered beyond their typical boundaries, as well as rebuilding your HQ and leveling up your dark heroes. There's a lot going on here with the story, and the game acts as part visual novel, a genre I'm not usually a big fan of. but the personalities on display in Mary Skelter are interesting and dynamic enough to keep me invested. The gameplay puts you into a first-person view and has you mapping out this mad and macabre dungeon floor by floor, trap by trap, and puzzle by puzzle. Some may find this to be tedious, but I really enjoy filling out the map and figuring out what's next. I do feel like the game is often unbalanced, where the enemy encounters will be way too easy or way too hard, but if you stick with it, I think what you'll find here is a unique adventure with a charismatic cast of characters. And there's plenty of gameplay here for you to chew on. Each game will take you dozens of hours to finish and varies greatly depending on how quickly you can solve the puzzles of each floor, which for me was not very quickly. Another first-person dungeon crawler, this time from the company behind the Disgaea series, Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk.
It's Coven, man. What else could it be pronounced?
Coven. That's the proper pronunciation.
No. Coven. No.
No.
Coven sounds like oven, man, and that's just, it doesn't work.
Keeps the same Disgaea quirkiness Nippon Ichi Software, or NIS, is known for. It also has a lot of the same depth of building characters that the Disgaea series offers, if not a bit more. You play as a magic book called the Tractatus de Monstrum, owned by a witch known as Madame Dronya. Dronya and her assistant Luca stroll into the town of Refrain, where an expansive labyrinth sprawls below. However, people who attempt to explore this labyrinth don't last very long, so magical puppets are created by you, the player, in an attempt to map out the labyrinth and recover the treasures that lie beneath. Much more stuff ends up happening, and there's a good amount of story to uncover as you play. Your puppets can be damaged in combat, so you'll have to spend money to buy parts to repair them, or you can just trash them and build new ones. But you'll waste all the progress they've made to that point. When creating puppets, you can choose everything from their class, appearance, name, nature, voice, skills, and even how sharply their skills grow when they level up. There are hundreds of weapons and items in the game, all with their own rarity, and even then, items can be slightly different from one another. The dungeon maps are big without being too big, and they can be quite treacherous to explore if you're not completely aware of your surroundings. The soundtrack and character designs are all quality stuff, and there's no shortage of systems for you to sink your teeth into. The Switch is the perfect console for these dungeon crawlers, as you can spend hours lost in these mazes and building up your characters. I've talked about Shadowverse Champions Battle on my channel a couple times before because I really enjoy this card battle game, and I feel like this one got almost zero attention when it came out. Xseed, the publisher of this game, even supported the online feature for quite some time after release, but it got little to no attention, which is a shame. I feel like if you slap the Pokemon or Digimon license on this game, it would be a huge hit. I've never really been huge into card battle games myself, but I loved the Pokemon trading card game, both the real-life version and the Game Boy Color game. I feel like Shadowverse Champions Battle is what the Pokemon trading card game would be if they released it today. The card game of Shadowverse exists on its own. You can download and play the game of Shadowverse without touching this game, but what Champions Battle does is it wraps up the stellar Shadowverse card game into an anime story. It's a seamless marriage that most wouldn't even know if they weren't told. The story isn't going to change the way you think about video games by any stretch, but it's a mysterious way to drive the plot and progression forward. Shadowverse is all the craze in this world, and you play as a student who joins a Shadowverse club at school. The club fights to keep their status as an officially recognized club while you build your deck and challenge other Shadowverse players in and outside of your school. There are so many different styles to consider in the game of Shadowverse, and the game encourages you to try them all out. You can use pre-built decks if you don't want to waste your time trying to build your own, or you can mix and match between different styles. And of course, opening packs and pulling rare cards always provides a good rush of those brain chemicals. More people need to play this game. At the time of this video, you can usually find it brand new for like 20 bucks, which is a steal of a deal, in my opinion. Now, I love me some tactics RPGs, and when it comes to tactics RPGs, Lingriser is an original. The first Lingriser game was released all the way back in 1991 on the Mega Drive in Japan and got a Western release where it was known as Warsong. While Japan would see a somewhat steady flow of Lingriser releases for the next few decades, the West would only receive the 3DS title Lingriser Reincarnation Tensei, which was not well received nor did it sell well. In 2019, NIS released a packaged remake of Lingriser 1 and 2 with brand new art. I had never played the Lingriser series before, but I wanted to give this game a shot, and I'm glad I did. I really need to hammer home that this is a remake of games that are now nearly 30 years old, and not a remake like Final Fantasy VII Remake that recently came out. It's a low-budget remake. The animations of the characters on the battlefield are reminiscent of Flash animation, and originally that turned me off. Many die-hard Lingriser fans were also upset with the new artwork, as Lingriser's original art style was and is beloved. Thankfully, you can switch between the new art style and the old art style in the main menu, depending on which you like. The old art style does change the maps to represent the look of the Sega Mega Drive version too, so keep that in mind. But moving beyond that, what I really think is special about this offering, and why I'm recommending it to everyone watching this video, is that it's both a great place to start for newcomers to the genre, and it's a great run-through for those who are experienced tactics players. Each game only takes about 20 hours to run through, which is definitely on the shorter end for a tactics RPG. But even with that short runtime, the game offers enough story and character building to keep most people interested in seeing it through to the end. There's also no permadeath, which I know is a sticking point for a lot of people when they try to get into other tactics games. Hey, I love permadeath, but I recognize that it's not for everyone. With Lingriser 1 and 2, you don't have to worry about that, as you'll mostly be sending armies ahead of you to soften up the enemies before you swoop in with your hero characters and take all the glory. There are also branching paths that encourage you to go back through and see the alternate story paths that you can uncover. The battle animations are all pretty cool, but they do get repetitive after the first 5 minutes of watching them play out. Luckily, you can skip the battle scenes if you just want to move right on, but I like to keep them on and watch the scenes of more importance, and then use ZR to skip all the others. Unfortunately, securing a physical copy will run you anywhere from $60 or more on the Switch and PS4, while the limited edition can go as high as $300 to $400. The digital version usually hangs around $50, but the game does have a demo, so you can try it free of charge. I wouldn't put this game above any of my favorite Fire Emblem games, but I do think this is a really great offering and a good place to start if you want to get into tactics RPGs. There's also a really great Lingriser mobile game, but that has a lot of moving parts and can be confusing to navigate. And of course, it's got a ton of microtransactions. Well, that about does it for my hidden RPG gems video. Hit that like button to let me know you made it all the way through to the end, and let me know what you think of some of these games in the comment section. Thank you so much for spending some time with me to talk about video games. Until next time, this is Lex, signing off.